seminary graduate, open pulpit, could be risky. My name is Toby Sorrels. I'm the Director of International Friendship, and I am privileged to say that Steve Hardy was my friend. Our organization is called International Friendship. I wrestled for several years considering to change the name, something perhaps a bit more exciting like International Mobilization. But as I have grown a little older, a little wiser, and I have listened to internationals, that word friendship is very important. And it is particularly at a time like this that you think about who your friends are. Steve and Sandra have been more than just friends to me. They are really colleagues. They have understood international friendship better than anyone else. And, Steve and I think our connection was a hard passion for international scholars and students. And they are more uniquely qualified than I. They have been aliens in a foreign land. They know what it feels like for an extended season of their lives. And when you consider what Scripture says about friends, or a friend, times where there is a death, times where there is a birth of a child, where there is a marriage, those are the significant life events where you want these significant people in your lives to be present with you to share it, and they are called friends. And so Scripture has quite a bit to say about friendship. I'll just mention a few things. From Proverbs, a faithful friend who can find. Seems that is getting harder and harder in our culture today, even though we have social media. There's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And then Abraham, who was called the friend of God. Oh, that it would be said of us that we are the friend of God. It's been said you don't get to pick your relatives, but you do get to pick your friends. And as I was reflecting, coming here about when did I first meet Steve and Sandra, they were very gracious, inviting me to their home when we moved to Gainesville back in 2001. And then Steve invited me out to lunch several times, multiple times. And it struck me that Steve chose me to be his friend. It wasn't the other way around. And when we went to lunch, he always insisted on paying. And sometimes I wondered why he was calling me to go to lunch. Because being involved in the organization and ministry that I am, usually when people want to get together with me, they want something from me. If nothing else, just hearing me speak in English. But Steve, it was obvious, was there to encourage me and to let me know that he believed in what we were doing and that he was behind me. And that meant a great deal. I'd like to say something about friendship between men and women. You might not understand this, but men, if you pause and think about what is it, what are those fundamental things between two men that enable them to have deep heart relationships, there's basically two things: respect and admiration. Now, there are people you may respect because of perhaps an athletic ability or that they've been successful in business, etc., but you don't admire the way that they have done that. And then there are people you may admire, but when you know about their personal lives, you don't respect them very much. But it is when those two things are present, that's when men really seem to connect. And I had the highest respect and admiration for Steve. His heart for people to know Jesus, clearly his love for his family, being firm in his convictions, And he was a generous and frugal man. You know, there are some people that are generous and they want you to know it, or they're irresponsible. There are some people that are frugal only, and they usually aren't very fun to be around. But Steve was the balance of both, and it was pleasant. And we are here, we're at a time where we're considering that this man that we've known in our lives have been touched by him, that he is gone. And it is death where belief really is tested and our theology collides with reality. When I heard about Steve dying and the way that he died, that was his desire, I thought of Enoch. Now, Enoch was the father of Methuselah, and Methuselah is the oldest man that ever lived. And so, family members, the way that the Lord chose for Steve to go home, Methuselah and his family probably could identify with you the most. But here's what Scripture says about Enoch. Enoch walked with God, then he was no more because God took him. And God took Steve. You know, Steve is rejoicing right now. And grief and the process of grieving, those are gifts. God has so constructed us as human beings that this grieving process of how we face loss, how we come together around people who are feeling the same, or to be supportive of those who are experiencing loss, it's God's plan. And so, family, I urge you, grieve well. And I know you have strong support around you, and I'm very thankful for that. And so we are have this response that really it's mingled with sorrow, and yet we should have gladness for him as well. Steve Hardy was my friend, and I already do miss him. I know I will more over time.